Valentine Graff. I was born in 1842 in a little town in the Rhineland called Langenlohnsheim. Those were very bad years, not the best of years in Germany. Um, One of my first memories is of my father coming from fields with a bushel basket full of blighted potatoes and dumping them all on the ground. None of them were any good. We had a couple of bad harvests and the politics was no better. The Prussian army was trying to get my older brother to sign up to fight, and he left for the America, I guess in the early 40s when I was still a young boy, late 40s. We had a revolution in Germany, 1848, but it didn't work. The repression was even worse afterwards. So when I was 8 years old, my parents sold some land and took us all, me and 7 brothers and sisters, to Le Havre, France, put us on a boat, got on a boat, all of us, and went to New York City. We landed in New York City in July of 1851. And it was just a month later that my father bought his first parcel of land in Andrew County, Missouri, which is near Savannah, just 4 or 5 miles east of the Nottoway River, which runs on up here into Clarinda. And my father, I remember him saying, he used to say, "Wir sind vom Regen in die Traufe gekommen," which means something like, we just came from the frying pan into the fire, because northwestern Missouri was even more of a mess than Germany was. There was a lot of our neighbors were bred in the bone Southerners and slaveholders, and there was really a civil war going on, a guerrilla war going on between the bushwhackers and the Jayhawks in northwestern Missouri in the 1850s, before the real Civil War even got started, because they were fighting about whether Kansas, which was right over the border, should be a free state or a slave state. Well, we Graffs, we just kept our noses to the grindstone. We didn't have any slaves, and we did quite well, thank you very much, but we felt that slavery was a poison to this country, and when Abe Lincoln came along, we were very much on his side. So even though Missouri was a slave state. So when I was 18 and the war started, I joined up into a pro-union militia, and joined another one later. And both of them were absolutely no-count operations. They did not know how to run an army. So I joined the actual Union Army in 1863, called the 12th Missouri Volunteer Cavalry. And I was mustered in St. Louis and became a sergeant for some reason. I guess it was my natural authority. I don't know. But it didn't do me any good anyway, because when we got to Mississippi, I immediately got the worst case of typhoid fever you can imagine. I was so sick that they loaded me onto a hog cart and took me all the way back to Memphis, then to Louisville, or to, St. Louis. And finally I got better and they gave me a furlough, went back to Savannah for a while, and that's when I helped a man named John Lewis, who was a slave at the neighboring farm, the farm of a man named James Shoemaker. And I helped John Lewis get over the border to Clarinda and get his freedom. And he is buried right over there in this cemetery, where there's a young man over there in a white shirt. He's standing right by the grave of John Lewis, who lived in Clarinda as a free man the rest of his life, and who named his grandson was named Aaron Valentine Lewis. And his son was named Aaron Valentine Lewis II, and there was an Aaron Valentine Lewis III. So somebody remembered, I guess, unless they don't know, but they must have remembered Valentine, which weirdly was me. Anyway, the war went on, and I went back and fought in all through Tennessee, the Battle of Franklin, the Battle of Nashville, and we were badly fed and we were badly armed, and I was very happy when it was over, except when it was over, they said I wasn't through. They made me go, our unit, to fight the Indians, the Cheyenne and the Sioux in the Dakota Territories in 1865. And we ambushed a few Indians, and a few of them ambushed us back, but it was basically just misery, because we got up in there, we didn't have anything. We had snow in September, we had no shoes by the end of September, and by October we were eating raw horse meat. We just did not have the means to be there. So I felt very lucky when the typhoid came back, and they put me in the hospital in Fort Laramie for a month, and I got better. And when I got out, I heard my Missouri pals talking about how the rebels that had been mustered out of the Confederacy were back in Andrew County making trouble for my folks and other people like them in Missouri. So I went back there. The word for it was deserted, okay? Because there was really nobody for me to say I was leaving to. I fixed that later on, but basically I just up and left. I went back to Missouri, and it was bad there, and then there was really nothing to do. I figured I'm going to make enough money to get the heck out of here, and that's just what I did. And in 1869 or thereabouts, I came up the Nottoway River and landed here in Clarinda, and that's when my luck changed, because I started a business, a dry goods business and a clothing business called the Graff Mercantile Company, which was right here on the square. And a year and a half after I got here, I married a lovely young school teacher from Ohio named Nancy Fairley, and she was as much a reason for the success of my business as I was. Used to have really nice dresses made out of the cloth that I was selling. She would squire around the square and make all the other women covetous, so they'd come in and buy a bolt of cloth, make their own dresses. Pretty good scheme. So we kind of grew up with this town. We built a house on 18th Street. I was a big board member of the the Presbyterian Church, and I was on the city council when we put the waterworks here in Iowa, in Clarinda, and had 6 children. One of them, unfortunately, poor Rose over here, never made it out of infancy, but the other 5, I managed to put them all to college. In 2 of the girls to Smith College in Massachusetts, and the boys to Lake Forest in Chicago. And 2 of my boys stayed in Chicago, became quite wealthy, and the other one, Gerald here, he came back to run the family store. So anyway, I was a big Republican. I was what they call a Grand Arm of the Republican. I believed in what Lincoln had done, and I believed in free enterprise, and I was elected to the state legislature in 1900, spent 2 terms there. I made sure that there was enough money for the state hospital for the insane, which was here in Clarinda at the time, and I pushed for a law to stop traveling salesmen from peddling intoxicating liquor in the state of Iowa. It lasted for a while. And in 1900, I pushed for the word male to be removed from the qualifications to vote in the state of Iowa. It didn't work in 1900, but a year before I died in 1921, there was an amendment to the Constitution that, of course, allowed women to vote. So altogether, I'd say that this great nation and this fine town of Clarinda helped me to become a useful citizen and a happy citizen, and I hope that the few things I did helped it on its way myself. So it was a pretty good arrangement altogether. Thank you.
Yes, and this gentleman came from New York, so.
Well, I'm his grandson, great-grandson.
Great-grandson.
Really? That is so neat. Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, no.
Thank you very much.
Wow,
It's great
you
to
know
learn
the whole
about it.
story.
Well, I don't know if you've met Trish here.
None of us know her, do we?
Never heard of her.
She's a forceful personality.
You
but
noticed that.
no, but seriously, it was great. I knew a little of this, but I've had to learn a lot more, and so it's really been fun.
You sure done a good job.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's great. I mean, that's my grandmother, and that's my uncle who's not yet. That's my father's twin who's going to be buried here.
Do you have Valentine in your name?
I don't. No.